This is Kardec Radio for Teens. Important life-changing events as seen through the Spiritist perspective. Now it's time for real-life dilemmas experienced by teens themselves. The Diaries of Belinda and Alex with Carol Correa.
Hello friends, we are honored to be back here with you once again to have another heart-to-heart conversation about the at times challenging transitions which we all go through, especially when we are forming our identity, that is, finding out who we are. As we know through our beautiful Spiritist philosophy, we are more than the body which we see and honor in the mirror every day. We are actually spirits that are temporarily making use of a body. Our body then is a beautiful tool given to us by God so that we may learn and grow spiritually. And the challenges which we face are like lessons in school that we are given the opportunity to take in order to grow more and more, to expand our hearts and minds so that love becomes a beautiful force that envelops all of us. But is it always easy to love and be loved? Though we are meant to truly be loved and to love one another, that is not such an easy task, right? At least not for me. I don't know about you. Maybe for you it is, and yay, kudos to you. But yes, at times, for me in particular, I face challenging difficulties when it comes to accepting those around me for who they are. And this is the specific dilemma which Belinda, remember her diaries, which our dear Belinda would like to voice with you in your company today. Belinda, as you may remember, is a young woman who was raised in Brazil in a less privileged community and whose dream was to become a medical doctor. If you remember from our first episode, she actually reached her goal. She was accepted in one of the best medical schools in Rio de Janeiro, and she realized from listening to her heart that very turning point in her life might have been part of her reincarnatory plan. So it was a beautiful, enlightening experience for her. Then, last week, if you may remember, Belinda shared another beautiful and important turning point in her life that helped shape who she is, and that is the fact that she was adopted by her parents. That is, we now know that her parents are connected to her through spiritual ties, through heart ties, through beautiful gifts that they share with each other, but not through the biological ties that some of us share with our parents. So today we are going to expand that family circle even more to look at Belinda's experience in order to understand how she relates to her siblings. You know, Belinda has many siblings. She comes from a beautiful, big, loving family, but there's one particular sister. Her name is actually Betania, who Belinda cannot seem to get along with, and she herself doesn't understand why. Have you ever had this feeling, dear friends, where you feel like you're quote-unquote supposed to love and cherish someone, but in your heart it's always a battle as to whether you're ever going to be able to accept that person? You feel all kinds of feelings, anger, resentment, grudges inside of your heart, and it feels like your heart weighs a ton because you really don't know what to do with all that baggage, literally, and that weighs you down, and you feel perhaps guilty because those feelings are not really what you're quote unquote supposed to feel. Have you ever seen yourself in this particular situation? Yes, maybe. Well, I know for a fact that I have, and those situations are often very, very challenging for us to unpack. So I would like to invite you once again, dear listeners, to experience with me Belinda's challenges and situations. Once again, as we listen to Belinda's very own words, let's pay special attention to her emotional state, and then let's talk about how to potentially deal with those difficult emotions. Of course, not from my perspective, because who am I to say, but from our Spiritist philosophy perspective. Okay? So let us now prepare ourselves to listen to Belinda. This time she's going to share how she feels about her sister, Betania. So she says, "Hello, dear diary, I'm back. Did you know that today I had a very surprising experience? Wanna know what it was? I actually ran into my sister Betania, that one. And something weird happened. I noticed that she was hanging out with this punk dude, kind of strange, weird guy, filled with tattoos, punk hair. I mean, seriously? I don't think he's good for her. So, I came to her as a big sister and I said, "Hey, Betania, take care of yourself. You deserve better. Pay attention to your friendships. You need to take better care of yourself. Be careful with who you hang out with, okay?" And dear diary, I said that from all of my heart, but guess what she said? You wouldn't believe the way she answered me. I mean, seriously, I was so concerned about her because, I try to love her, but she makes it so hard. You wouldn't believe what she said. Want to know what she said? She said, "Hey, Belinda, this is none of your business. Back off. Get a life. Leave me alone." And dear diary, that really hurts me because every time I try to talk to my sister Betania, that's what quote unquote talk means. Talk in her case means screaming. So sometimes I just feel like, well, can't she just disappear? But then again, the other night I was at the center, the Spiritist Center with my family and my youth group, and they were talking about the importance of cultivating patience. They said, if that's a virtue you really want to have, that's the kind of experiences that the mentors will give you when you come back to life. And I thought to myself, oh gosh, this is probably why Betania and I are sisters, because she's my quote-unquote teacher. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I have to deal with that girl. I mean, seriously, that's a little much for me. But what can I do? I mean, oh gosh, I don't know. Maybe it's because we were born so close to each other. After my mom adopted me, she ended up getting pregnant with her and not even noticing until she was 6 months along because she was so involved with taking care of me that she didn't even realize Betania was coming. But then, of course, Betania came and Mom almost passed away as a result, but in the end they were fine. But I don't know why. Betania never really loved me. She keeps saying, you're not part of this family. Just forget it. Get a life. And one day I got so upset with her that I said, at least I know our parents really love me because they chose to have me. With you, they had no choice. And of course I felt bad about talking like this to my own sister, but dear diary, I don't know why she hates me so much. Do you? So, dear friends, did you notice how difficult it has been for our friend Belinda to handle those emotions? It seems like she is kind of divided in the middle, as if she were two people in one. Part of her really, really works hard to learn to love her sister and accept her and even protect her. And the other part of her is really not there yet and kind of reacts to her sister very strongly because emotionally they get at each other's throats, and they both know that. So while Belinda takes one step forward, Betania goes one step backward, and it's like that weird dance where they're never really emotionally together. A lot of us have similar experiences, if not with an actual brother or sister of ours, with a friend or someone at school or a relative or a former boyfriend or girlfriend, someone that we really, really tried our best to understand and to love, but in the end we were not quite there. And when we see that person, our hearts may beat wildly, we may even sweat, we may think, oh God, I wish I could cross the street to not see that person, oh not again. And we see that movie of action and reaction repeating itself as if we were in the middle of an emotional boxing match, right? It's really a wild ride. And so to help us deal with that, to have tools, actual tools to deal with situations like this when we ever face them, I would like to turn our attention at this moment to the Gospel according to Spiritism. If you care to please join me, we could look together at chapter 12. This chapter is a very beautiful chapter and a very challenging one to take in at the same time, because Jesus himself makes a very interesting proposition. He invites us to love our enemies. Of course, like we were discussing with Belinda's situation, we all know what love is, and we all know how good it feels to be accepted and embraced by other people, and we all understand how much we desire that for ourselves, how much we cherish laughing with friends, giving a hug to a family member, spending time with our little dogs, and doing things that just makes us happy, that really nourishes our soul. So Jesus, knowing how important that force is to bringing us to life, literally, he invited us to love. But what is interesting about this particular chapter is that he invites us to love not only those who already love us, but our enemies. That is where the challenge comes, dear friends. At least for me, that's where the challenge comes. Because who are our enemies according to Jesus? Most of the time we may, when we hear about enemies, we may think about the latest James Bond movie and think about this incredible high-tech spy that is following us around when we are not even looking and sending us a message that will self-destruct in 5 minutes and that will put our lives to risk every 5 seconds, right? Hollywood paints this image of an enemy which we must fight as heroes to combat till the end, until we know that that person is no longer in sight. Even cartoons sometimes may invite us to do that, to literally fight for our lives against that person until the end. So we are conditioned by the media as a whole, for the most part, to always fight back, to show them that we are strong, that we can fight against them with all our might. And what Jesus is inviting us to do, interestingly, is exactly the opposite. He's not inviting us to fight. He's inviting us to love. But the question is exactly the same as Belinda posed just as we read her diaries today. The question is, the $1,000,000 question in this case is, but how? How to love someone for whom we don't feel acceptance, we don't feel cared for, we don't feel that our hearts are open enough to include that person in our lives as part of our emotional repertoire. We don't feel prepared. As a matter of fact, instead of opening our hearts, sometimes we may feel like closing our hearts. And that's completely understandable, right? Because we want to protect ourselves from those difficult emotions like anger, anxiety, sadness that may take over. So let us now then consider the message from the illuminated spirits to help us understand exactly what steps we may take to deal with these difficult emotions that often emerge when we meet with people or encounter people that challenge us at our core. On chapter 12, entitled Love Your Enemies, the illuminated spirits, dear friends, recognize, and that was surprising for me, they recognize that there is a misunderstanding regarding the meaning of the word love when we discuss loving those who bring strong antagonistic emotions to our hearts. They tell us, friends, that when Jesus refers to loving those who challenge us, he doesn't mean that we need or are expected to treat them in the exact same way in which we would treat those who we already love very openly, those who are already part of our families of the heart. In other words, Jesus doesn't expect us to invite them to our homes all the time, to treat them like our best friend, to shower them with gifts, to say, even though I haven't gotten along with you now, I'm ready and I want to be your best friend forever. Let's text each other day and night. Let's hang out. No, that's not what Jesus is proposing. Because Jesus, as a wise master and therapist, recognized that it would be really challenging for any person, including ourselves, to treat those who challenge us emotionally at the same exact way that we would treat others who already embrace us emotionally. So Jesus, dear friends, expects this difference in behavior to take place, because according to the illuminated spirits, it is impossible for us, and I quote, to feel the same happiness when we are with someone who challenges us as we feel in the company of a friend. So how liberating is that, my friends? Jesus, in his great wisdom, immortal wisdom, eternal wisdom, already expected there to be difference between how we feel regarding a dear friend and how we feel towards someone who we are yet learning how to love. Isn't that liberating? And the beautiful spirits go further to say this difference in feelings are a result, believe it or not, of a physical law. It's the law of action and attraction, which causes us to push away the vibrations that those feelings of the other person may cause in us. Wow, can you believe it? It's a physical law of action and reaction. So we cannot expect, even from a physical standpoint, to feel the same love for someone who we already opened our hearts to as to someone who we are still learning to accept. This would be a false expectation in our hearts, to expect to put both people, those who we already love and those we are learning to love, exactly at the same place in our hearts. Wow, how liberating, right? I already shed probably a ton of conflicting feelings just by reading that. How liberating that it's okay for us to learn little by little at our own pace to accept ourselves, our feelings, and others as they are. The question remains, what can we do? What tools do we have at our disposal to open our hearts little by little and to experience healing from this emotional baggage that at times we may carry? Well, luckily, the illuminated spirits offered us a few tools here, again on chapter 12, entitled Love Your Enemy. They propose to us that we learn not to carry a strong dislike for someone who challenges us. In other words, they invite us not to create obstacles in their lives. So if they, for example, treat us unkindly, we are not going to go ahead and treat them even more unkindly, as if we were playing in a competition to see who suffers more and the most, right? The illuminated spirits are inviting us to break this cycle by not responding to unkindness with another unkind act. They are inviting us to actually practice forgiving that person first in our minds and then within our hearts. Do we need, however, to open our lives entirely to them? No, that's not what they are proposing. Luckily for us, they are inviting for us to heal our own emotions first and foremost by letting go of difficult emotions that we experience ourselves. Isn't that beautiful? That this is what Jesus considered to love our enemies. It is to forgive ourselves and accept ourselves as we accept other people without wishing ill on the people who challenge us. Of course, this is not easy, right? So what I would like to invite us to do, dear friends, for the first time in this segment of Kardec Radio for Teens, is for us to engage in a visualization. Why visualization? Because neuroscience has shown to us that we have mirror neurons. They are neurons that literally function as a mirror in our minds. So if we expose ourselves, even if just mentally, to a new pattern, a new kind of action and reaction, if we practice responding differently to situations that are challenging to us and to people who are challenging to us, we are then going to be creating new neural pathways which are going to literally change the course of our lives. Isn't that interesting? Even though Jesus, our master and guide, was here 2,000 years ago, his teachings, his recommendations rather, for us to learn to accept those who challenge us are were already based on neuroscientific principles. So as we can see, science is coming closer and closer to walking hand in hand with philosophy and giving us more and more tools to deal with difficult emotions. So let us now put this beautiful tool into practice by doing a short visualization. The goal of the visualization is for us to let go of emotional baggage by visualizing new responses that we may be able to offer to those who challenge us. So let us now close our eyes if we wish and visualize ourselves in a beautiful, lovely garden. We see ourselves surrounded by our favorite flowers, perhaps a field of lavenders, a field of roses, tulips. We see flowers displaying an array of beautiful colors. All of the colors of the rainbow are there. And we look up at the sky, and the sky is shining ever so brightly with the beautiful sun right above us. The temperature is nice. The breeze is caressing our hair. We take a deep breath in and slowly release that breath, letting go of any tension that may be surrounding us. And we joyfully then walk amongst the flowers, giving thanks to nature for the gift of our reincarnation. And as we parade amongst the beautiful flowers, smelling them, enjoying their fragrance along the way, we see at a distance someone for whom we have difficult feelings, but we kindly invite them with a small gesture, a small nod, to come and join us. We pick one of our favorite flowers to offer them. At first, they are a little bit hesitant, but within a few minutes, we see their spirit mentors surrounding them, and we see our spirit mentors surrounding us, telling us, open your hearts to a new reality. It is then that our friend accepts the flower we offer them and extends a hand towards us. We take their hands and slowly we come to hug them and we say, thank you for all the learning opportunities you have offered me to practice patience, to practice kindness, to practice love and friendship in a very different, beautiful, new way. Thank you for the gift of you and all of the beautiful treasures which you have shared with me. Thank you for all the learning opportunities you have offered me. And this person then hugs us even tighter, and we see our hearts coming together as one. We then give thanks to our guardian angels or spirit mentors for the opportunity, and we offer yet another flower for them to share with other incarnate or discarnate spirits who may be dealing with very difficult emotions at this very moment, so that with the power of love and through the power of love, they may find healing, they may find relief, they may find hope, and they may find peace. So be it. Hope and peace, my dear friends, is what we wish to share with you. We invite you to join us once again next week when we will discuss other very important dilemmas that some of us face throughout our incarnation. So we are looking forward to another opportunity to spend some time with you, having a conversation from heart to heart. Until next week, we wish you many, many blessings.
This has been Kardec Radio for Teens. Thank you all for listening.